I'm Ashton Addison from BlockQuest Capital for Investment Pitch Media and the Crypto Coin Show. And today on Blockchain Interviews, we have Don Norbury, Neon's CTO and the head of studio at Shrapnel. Don, welcome to the show, and thanks for taking the time.
Thanks, Ashton. Thanks for having me.
You're very welcome. I'm excited to dive into blockchain gaming. There's so much going on. Gamers rejoice as we move into the next evolution of gaming and finance as well, which is an interesting pairing. I would love for you to kick it off by telling us a little bit about the game studio, Neon, and then we'll dive into the details.
For sure. Neon comes from a pedigree of almost entirely AAA game developers, multiple decades. We all kind of met at HBO and realized that we really wanted to do something more interesting together, and kind of spun ourselves out into Neon. Everyone's worked on some of the biggest and have leadership roles really in some of the biggest franchises that everybody knows, from the Halos to Sunset Overdrive, Crackdown, Call of Duty, etc. So that's sort of the background that we come from in terms of the game space. And Neon has been focused on that caliber of entertainment, continuing to deliver that caliber of entertainment. And through our expertise in that space, as well as our investigation and exploration of the latest and greatest in blockchain, that's kind of how we came to where we are now with our laser focus on Shrapnel.
Definitely, and I am super interested in learning more about Shrapnel because it's a type of game that I have not seen in the blockchain space yet it's one of the most popular types of games in the world. And I would love for you to just tell people about Shrapnel.
Yeah, absolutely. Shrapnel at its core is a AAA extraction-based shooter with a kind of creator side to it that is blockchain enabled. So that's a lose your loadout, high stakes treasure hunting essentially, but in shooter form, which we thought was kind of a perfect fit for the blockchain space, particularly when you think about ownership principles. And then we also were invigorated. We all came from game creation, and even before that, we were most of us were modding games before we even got formally into the industry. So we had this notion of these generations that grew up on Minecraft, aged into Roblox, and sort of looking for something to go to next. People don't stop creating; they just have different avenues of creation. So one of the things we wanted to do is offer people a space for expression that they could identify with. So that's the kind of the other piece, and it plays very nicely into that kind of blockchain participation as well as ownership principles as well.
Definitely. I like that you tied that together, Don. And yeah, where are the blockchain shooters? All of these Call of Duties and some of these multi-billion-dollar industry of just shooter games now moving into the blockchain space, which is super cool. And I'm looking forward to that. And I know that there's a lot to do. And I would love for you to just give a little bit more information on where exactly, because you have a game studio. Shrapnel is the main game, but maybe there's other games. I don't know if you're working on multiple things, and I know it's early on. So maybe give a snapshot of where exactly is Shrapnel at right now.
Yeah, we're laser focused on Shrapnel right now, and it's in early development. Right, we're kind of perfecting what you consider the feel of the shooter and the game mode itself, nailing down the specifics of how the economy works, and in game sense, that's not just from a traditional economic perspective, but also from how you think about what you pick up and how you spend and how you get the things that you want, and that kind of churn from a second to second to a minute to an hour to hour basis for a player experience. So we're right in the midst of that, as well as preparing how we engage the community. So we're going to have some big beats coming out very, very soon in terms of how people can get engaged and be part of the journey.
Very cool. And I'm guessing there might be some ways to get engaged prior to the full public game coming out.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah. want to get the community engaged as early as humanly possible in all the ways you would expect, especially in what we see as merging crypto. The crypto community, who's very familiar with all of the principles and the way projects are not just like funded but engage with the community, all the way to the gamers who have a very different view of how that works, where you might not know about a game until a year before it comes out, and then the kind of 6 month beat, and then the big marketing fill, and then you spend your $60 and you play your like retail title. Obviously, this space doesn't make sense for that sort of path. So we will be engaging very hot and heavy with as many people as want to get involved as early on, and with an extremely transparent development process.
Very cool. And when I look back to shooting games in the past, before NFTs and before blockchain, they used to have, you could get skins on your gun and you can look cool. And you mentioned at the beginning there about adding creativity in and having creators and artists involved. I think that's really cool. And I'm curious to know more about that. Is it going to be skins, or can you hint at something more on how NFTs will be incorporated into the game?
Yep. I will say, what I can say is we will have multiple different layers, multiple different asset classes, I guess is the best way to describe it, of things that people can customize and share with the community, and have other people experience, as well as just, buy and sell or use to customize themselves. We'll have many options. I think the important part is what we don't want is people to just immediately have thrown, for example, like a full engine / editor that it's a lot for people to work with. So we have curated asset classes where if you just want to put your brand on something and you're comfortable with that level of interaction, we'll have a path for you, and then there'll be more and more complex and professional styles of approach that people will be able to engage with as well. So we don't want to push anybody out by having it be too complicated, but we also need to have enough so that there's a good malleable expression, so we get lots of interesting stuff from the community.
Definitely. I like that, Don. And you're right, it can get complicated. Obviously, you want the players and the interaction to make it as easy and convenient as possible. But in terms of the team and actually building the game, I know that not only can it be very complicated, but it's a very long and tedious process. And some of these games, they're worked on for years and years and years just to get it right. And I know that your team has been working really hard. And I saw that your team recently closed $10.5 million round of fundraising. So first of all, congratulations on that. That's incredible. And secondly, I'd love to hear, with that round closed, what are the next steps? What are the main focus with that capital and moving forward?
Yep. So we'll have a lot to talk about in the early next year in terms of both exactly what that journey looks like, and that will be a very, very open and publicized journey, and it will take kind of a shape that I think in crypto space most people are at least somewhat familiar with, and we'll kind of go from there with all the ways that people can get involved.
Very cool. I like it. And I'm guessing there's also maybe cryptocurrencies, not just NFTs, but cryptocurrencies involved in it. And will Shrapnel have its own cryptocurrency? And if it does, what will the functionality be within the ecosystem?
For sure. I mean, I think when we looked at blockchain usage and integration in a proper way with something like Shrapnel, something like a token economy and a utility token is sort of table stakes. And then, of course, NFTs, people get ownership. Humans grok the concept of ownership very quickly, which is why they've taken off so much, right? But even with just something like NFTs and what I think a lot of the public, maybe outside of the crypto sphere, just perceives as just pure ownership, as opposed to all the other things that it means, the other pieces of utility, the way networks expand, and the way the way you get this momentum, kind of social momentum that builds around things. We think there's also a lot of interesting expressions in blockchain space that you can only do, by virtue of utility tokens and their utility expression within the protocol and the platform that we build for Shrapnel. So I know that's very top level and vague, but that's where our head's at, and those are the details that you'll be seeing kind of fleshed out and shared with the community early next year.
Definitely, yeah. There's a lot to do, and moving forward for when the game comes out, what do you think is going to be the key factor to success for your team leading up to the launch date of the game?
I mean, leading up to the launch date is going to be that crossfade from what we consider, like I said, crypto savvy people into the gamer community. We see a lot of friction and pushback from gamers right now when you talk about blockchain. You just even mentioned blockchain. A lot of it's understandable. I mean, with anything new, people have to be brought and have explained and understand and have responsible examples for them to get into and for them to identify with. So we see a lot of it as our responsibility to deliver that to the gamer community. And to bring more and more of them into the fold with what will already be a well-established crypto savvy community. So a lot of the pieces of that are around the friction. Some of it's stigma, some of it's the friction involved in crypto. People just want to get in the gamer space. People want to get in. They want to shoot somebody in the face as quickly as possible, and have a satisfying experience. And we know that we've been building those experiences for decades. So a lot of our challenges and path are around how do we allow you to do that as a gamer, and then kind of guide you into understanding and appreciating the rest of the ecosystem and the rest of the ways that you can participate.
Definitely, yeah. The game should come first. The game and user experience obviously is going to be very important, especially when you incorporate blockchain, NFTs, and wallets and whatever else into the platform, especially for people that aren't in cryptocurrency. How did you balance that out? Making sure that it's not too technical, allowing people that aren't in cryptocurrency already as well to get their first NFT through Shrapnel or to use the cryptocurrency.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we've perfected and answered that question fully. That's part of the journey that we're going on over the next set amount of development time. And it's certainly, when you look at like anything technical, and certainly in the blockchain space, this is true, in DeFi space especially true, where everything's a trade-off. Everything is perceived as a trade-off right now between security or bridging capabilities. Is it a separate L1? Is it an L2 on top of something like Ethereum mainnet, where you've got expectation security, but it's like, because of this roll-up scheme, it's a huge pain if I want to take custody and move it to mainnet, and those are all these like big trade-offs that people in crypto are familiar with and accept and have done the research to at least understand it, or know other people's experiences that they've shared, so they understand it by virtue of other people's stories. And I think kind of in the way that we're going to approach it, right at the beginning, it's going to be very much like I said, it's going to be the crypto audience. So we are very tailored towards Web3 principles, towards that kind of DeFi approach, and recognize that later on there's a community of people who aren't going to want to have anything to do with that. When you start talking about a version of the onboarding that's custodial wallets, where there's not KYC that you have to go through until hitting certain thresholds, and kind of merging over the journey of continuing to develop the product with the community between those two audiences.
Well said, Don. Well, I'm super looking forward to seeing more about this. I'm guessing you're talking about trade-offs, and there's definitely trade-offs in blockchain, but in terms of the game itself, I want to know more about the game. I want to see it. Is there is there already like trailers or snapshots of like what this is going to be like?
I mean, there are, but not shared publicly. We'll have a lot to share with the community and people who want to get engaged very soon.
Very cool. And for those people that are interested in getting involved in the communities and following along with the journey as you continue to develop out, what's the best way for them to get involved?
Yeah, right now, the website or our Twitter are the best ways. We'll be opening up larger socials and the usual suspect extremely soon. So everybody should keep an eye on those touch points and then start to engage when it gets opened up wider.
Sounds great, Don. I will leave all those links in the description box below as well. All the best with the game and everything moving forward, and let's definitely follow up in the near future.
Awesome. Thanks, Ashton.